here we go. This is the 8-9 combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones, and I'm very happy to report that we have survived our first coming together in person. Hello, mate. How you doing?
How's it, man? There was always that chance that we'd meet each other and not like each other. And the whole thing would be undone, like the Greeks' idea of forbidden knowledge. Like, it was best for us not to meet, but just pod from a distance. But in fact, you are a delightful companion around the mean, gritty streets of Kirribilli. And I found myself wandering around in warrens and labyrinths. And even though Kirribilli starts with a K, I kept thinking of L. L for laminated, L for lounge, L for lavender, L for lattes, and L for, laminated lounge, lazy. And I had a reflection is that people in Kirribilli, it's like the world's largest bakery. The whole thing is a bakery. And everyone eats bread constantly, but no one gets fat. It's the slim-hipped kind of suburb with everyone's eating the wrong food, but they still look great. It was weird. And they're wearing Lycra, too, because most of them are cycling.
Everyone in Lycra and skinny jeans.
It's a lovely neighborhood. And also a shout-out to Bamford Bar in the lovely Georgia, who is both a gymnast and then a swimmer. And she was one of my tour guides. I felt like I was a citizen, an inhabitant of Kirribilli by the end. I'm kind of sad to leave, but now I'm in Manly.
Yeah, righto. No, right. I must have missed that part of the weekend planning. Here I am back in studio office.
One reflection I had is that you're kind of a willowy, lanky 9. You must have had a late growth spurt because you're not like the typical 5'7" gym. Speaking of gymnasts, when did you get the late growth spurt?
It's a good question. No, but I did. I was quite short as a kid, and then grew a lot when I was like 15. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
then haven't grown since. It is episode 33 of the 8-9 Combo Rugby Podcast, and we are and have been brought to you throughout the Rugby Championship by Chasing the Sun 2, the outstanding 5-part all-access series documenting Springboks' memorable 2023 Rugby World Cup journey, and which is now available to watch on RugbyPass TV worldwide. Simply head to rugbypass.tv and sign up for free, and you will see the first series there as well. If you're in South Africa, you won't see Chasing the Sun 2.
But if you haven't seen Chasing the Sun 2 and you're in South Africa, something has gone terribly wrong in your life.
Yes. You've been living under a rock, I think, for a couple of months. Let's get into the rugby week, mate, with cheers and jeers from the weekend. And you're on cheers, and I feel like we've already heard it now.
I am? I'm on cheers? Oh. Well, I'm going to cheer.
What you just said a minute ago.
No, I'm going to cheer teams that go down early and fight back. What we saw was, in both cases, the fool's gold of going out early and running through defenses, run amok. Faste did it. Jesse Creel did it. Will Jordan did it. It was like scoring tries for fun. The defenses parted. It was the Matador defense. It wasn't the slide defense. And then the rest of the match, because you thought that was so easy, you found that your opponent wasn't really on the program of just lying down and surrendering. So both the Wallabies and the Los Pumas said, no, not today. We're going to make you work for it.
Yeah, no, it's a good shout. It's a good shout. My jeers for you will enjoy, and it is jeers to terrible stadium DJs the world over. And I know it's all about game day experience and building and creating atmosphere and all that, but my goodness, the guy at Stadium Australia just gave the game no chance of doing it itself, and it really could have done that. And instead, he gave some frankly offensive treatments to some very, very good Australian music. And I say, cheers to you, man. Just let the game go.
As I was sitting next to Dr. Jane Wilson at our
Rugby Australia board member.
Yes. I told her about that. I said, what's up with the DJ? And she said, it didn't seem to have any relation to the play on the field. And I have to say that's true. I actually like pumping, jumping, nightclub, house music, but it needs to have some witticism or irony or something. This was more like in a very important line out because people were bored. Suddenly we're just aka-daka.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are we doing with this weird mosh pit version of Akadaka? And then it was like an anticlimax when the line out was going on. I go, no, you're actually making your game seem less exciting.
Did some very, very strange things to some really, really good music. Anyway, it's the week between the Bledisloe Cup Test, mate, and we have got the perfect debut 8-9 guest right up next. Right up now, in fact. Coming off a first Bledisloe Cup match in Sydney that I'm still scratching my head about. I dare say this week's guest is as well. He admits that he's got the greatest job in the world, and there certainly are worse jobs than covering All Blacks over the world, as well as cricket and plenty of other sports. You can and you definitely should catch his insights on the Rugby Direct podcast with Elliot Smith from News Talk ZB every week. And it's great to be handing an 8-9 combo debut to the chief sports writer for the New Zealand Herald and our new mate from the weekend, Liam Napier. Hello, mate. How you doing?
G'day, boys. Great to be here off the back of a Sydney debut that certainly exceeded expectations, and happy to take the short ball and truck it up for you. Yeah,
it was a good weekend. That was a surprisingly tight contest, mate. How did you guys see it from your side of the press box?
Yeah, it was pretty wild, wasn't it? I thought the All Blacks were going to just kick clear. What were they up? 21-0, 15 minutes, 4 tries in the first 26 minutes. I can't remember who it was in the press box striding around saying, "Oh, well, at least it's a good turnout." And then, and then the script flipped, and it was all on towards the death. The All Blacks clinging on for dear life, and just barely escaped. So, great contest, plenty to take out of it. But great to see 68,000 people in Sydney, and what a advertisement for afternoon footy.
Yeah, and that may be the biggest takeaway of it all, Harry. 68,000 in Sydney. The Swans played a preliminary final at the SCG on Friday night. There was 2 NRL semi-finals at Allianz Stadium in Moore Park Friday and Saturday night. We certainly saw lots of Swans shirts and hats and caps and Roosters jerseys and Manly jerseys around the northern suburbs as well. So on a weekend where there was a lot of sport in Sydney, getting 68,000 out at Olympic Park for a Wallabies test was a fantastic result.
Well, on that AFL thing, you and I watched a match together, and I like the bounce, and I like the over-the-shoulder boulder holder line-out feed, and I think that would perhaps solve both the All Blacks and Springboks line-out melodies. So I'm going to raise this for a different point. I know, Brett, you hate it when we bring up the origin of fans, but I'm bringing it up for a different point, which is I'm not aware of too many contests. The only one I could think of was Scotland versus South Africa in the pool match, where the constitution of a giant crowd was pretty much 50-50. And it was actually unusual in Test rugby. It's just hard to pull that off, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it adds to the spectacle, because for every good thing or bad thing, you always had kind of an even groan or cheer. And I found myself walking in between my paid seat and then my press box seat, and I had to interpret the sounds, and I couldn't. I didn't know who did something wonderful. Whereas when you're at a home stadium, you go, "Oh, okay, so we scored," or whatever.
Yeah, that was very notable. I think to the left of the press box behind the goalposts looked like thousands of All Blacks fans. I know there were big tour groups there. It's a short hop across the ditch, 2.5, 3 hour flight. Get some sun. It's already, as you can see behind you, Harry, pretty much summer for Kiwis there. Beautiful, amazing weather. So, yeah, very rare. I think in New Zealand, the only time you really experience that is a Lions tour. But it was very, very notable just how many black jerseys were in the crowd, and All Blacks chants when they were up, and then they were pretty well silenced in the second half with not a lot to cheer about.
Yeah, that's certainly. I've become used to Bledisloe crowds in Sydney being 50-50. That didn't surprise me. But what was maybe different about this one was that both sets of fans basically walked away satisfied. That's never happened before. It's been very one way, generally speaking. So yeah, what's been the reaction now that you've got back home to New Zealand, mate? Like, what's been the fallout? the come down. How do you describe it?
Yeah, probably it's kicked off pretty quickly. The WhatsApp messages were blowing up, and I think it's fair to say familiar frustrations, isn't it, for the All Blacks? 5 tests in a row, the final quarter failings of not scoring a point. Locking away the Bleds, very treasured trophy, but unconvincing, unsatisfied, underwhelmed generally with the All Blacks, just because it's the same issues that they're not addressing. There are great individual performances within that. Cortez Vatama at halfback, Wallace Atiti, Caleb Clark, other than the yellow card, but collectively, they can't solve a lot of these continued issues. So real frustrations around the inconsistencies that the All Blacks are delivering.
Yeah, and how did you interpret their explanations in the press conference? Because I know Scott Robertson tried to deliver the we're proud, we're working away, we're progressing nicely, but I don't know how much that was delivered. And then Scott Barrett was asked what he could put it down to, and I thought the length of his pause probably said more than what he actually did say. And then when he did start talking, he actually tried to bail out of the answer really quickly so that he didn't sort of speak out of turn. So, you're right. I don't think they can put their finger on it at the moment.
No, Razor's a eternal optimist by nature, so he is projecting that, but the message around creating ample opportunities and not finishing them is wearing thin, isn't it? Because it's clearly an issue that's that they can't solve, and until they do that, it falls on deaf ears. And whether it's skill execution or leadership or game management, there's a whole lot of things there. The All Blacks are doing a lot right, but great All Blacks teams of the past. You think about the win in Dublin when the Ryan Crotty try. I think there was a try from Malakai Fekitoa to win a Bledisloe Cup contest. The All Blacks used to set the tone for winning matches when they weren't at their best, or being the fittest team, or having the most depth. But it's an issue that they can't solve now, and it is a real head scratcher. It's something that they need to address, because that's when test matches are won and lost.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you reading it, Harry? We actually never got to talk about this much over the course of the weekend, amidst some great Italian and beautiful wine on Saturday night. How are you seeing this from a neutral point of view?
I don't think Razor was fooling anyone. I think that in the context of this year, this many matches in, if it was second match, third match, sure, but 8 matches in, the same chronic problem, the final quarter impotence, which is exactly diametrically opposed to what everyone always associates with the All Blacks, is like, if you're close, they're going to take it home. If you leave them a scrap, they'll eat it. They'll find wonderful and mysterious ways to win, because they always believed they would. So there's only 3 explanations that I got from that, which is, 1, it's not that good an All Black team compared to All Black teams in the past. So they are accurately ranked at 3, which is unusual and weird. Or Razor's not good at knowing why things aren't working. He's more good at knowing how to make things work and then ride the culture of it. And then the final thing is, other teams are fitter than they used to be, or they are not as self-destructing. I don't know. You could also have the Schmidt factor and the Rossi factor and the other factors of different coaches who have studied them. Razor, to me, when he came in the press conference, and I'm describing that by video because I wasn't there. I was doing a pod with you. He was trying to sell. Yep. When I was in the room of my first press conference from that side, I've held press conferences. I've never actually been the one waiting to say, Coach Schmidt, Harry Jones, 8-9 combo. I didn't say any of that, by the way. Joe didn't need any invitation to be excited and happy. He was clearly happy.
Yeah.
Harry Wilson was, playing it cool, but he was also chuffed to be there. And they weren't running away. They were like, let's stay here a little bit longer. Let's have a chat. Harry, it was not wrong for Harry to come off the podium and give me a hug, because that would have been weird if the game
He
wasn't to their
really
satisfaction.
liked your question, mate. He really liked your question.
Yeah, I know it was a good question, but more the point is like it was that body language is you cannot fake it. They were pleased, and the All Blacks were a bit bemused, or like, ooh, how much do we celebrate that thing? So, Liam, my question is on the kind of possibilities I've phrased: is New Zealand rugby, and by that I mean the people, the whole country of rugby people, are you kind of theorizing yet? Or are you just giving Razor the full season to do stuff and see what happens and then kind of attack 2025? Or are you already thinking, wait, we thought that he would be more innovative, make more changes and do more stuff already?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think it's probably 50-50 split. Some people saying, give him more time. It's early days. It's a new coaching group, the biggest change the All Blacks have experienced in 20 years from a coaching perspective. And others saying, probably like myself, saying, well, actually, he came in right in this massive amount of goodwill and was expected to evolve the team, promote youth, stamp his authority from a game plan perspective, and really improve the All Blacks from where they have been, which has been, while they made the World Cup final, massive form fluctuations over the last few years. And during that time, Razor was seen as the golden goose. He was going to come in and basically immediately improve this team. And maybe that was unrealistic, but I think generally people expected more to this point. We're past the midpoint in the season. And it's been very turbulent. They've had Leon McDonald leave the coaching team very abruptly. The defence coach, Scott Hansen, has flipped to controlling the attack. Damian McKenzie hasn't stamped his authority on the number 10 jersey. So there's big question marks about this team, about the selections, about the game plan, about their finishing. Interestingly, Wayne Smith, his official titles now as a performance coach with the Black Ferns and All Blacks. He's actually in camp this week with the All Blacks.
Right.
So the professor has landed. So very interesting to see whether that evokes a better performance this week for the All Blacks.
Yeah.
What do you think if the professor was doing experiments right now and proposing hypotheses? Where do you think those would be? Like where are the 2 or 3 places where the professor could make a difference?
I think Wayne Smith's a big advocate of promoting youth, so I think he would be encouraging Razor to be a bit more bold and brave selection-wise, but also he's like Joe Schmidt. He's a very details man, so I think from a skills perspective, that's where the All Blacks are really letting themselves down. There was so many moments they've blown in recent weeks. The Damian McKenzie flick ball to unmarked to Mighty Williams. Artie Severe was held up. That spectacular 80-metre try for Cortez Lasma that was ruled out for a forward pass. Yeah. So it's just little moments of accuracy. And, Schmidt and Wayne Smith, these guys are exceptional coaches and they see things that people don't. So I've got no doubt that whether it's a line-out special or just that skill execution under pressure, there'll be some real nuggets of gold for the All Blacks this week.
Is there a conversation being, and we've sort of touched on this the last few weeks, but is there conversations happening in New Zealand wondering whether Razor has the ability to learn from losses, just purely because his whole coaching career has been geared around and built on success? So if you've never had to do something, can you actually learn from it?
Well, I think it's massive difference, isn't it, between Super Rugby and Test Rugby? Not only in with so many differences. Super Rugby is a campaign where you can build a theme. Razor's very much a vibes guy, right? Like he develops a theme, whether that be the Rumble in the Jungle with the Crusaders' first win to break their title drought in Johannesburg over the Lions, or other themes within a week. Where Test Rugby, you got to win every week. There's no ifs or buts or maybes. The expectation on the All Blacks is ruthless. And so I think he's found that difficult, and that they're still trying to get the balance of their coaching team right, and probably live and breathe in the pressure cooker of Test Rugby. So they have shown the ability to lose and learn, but you know, you look at the All Blacks loss in Wellington to the Pumas, and then they responded the following week.
Yeah.
But then elements of their game, they aren't improving. So there's a real demand on them to fix those areas.
The coaching situation is an interesting one, and I don't think, I mean, the full story behind Leo McDonald and Scott Robertson decided that this isn't working, and there's no point carrying on. That may or may not come out in the inevitable book. I don't know. What are you what's the feeling behind the scenes there? And is Leo McDonald's absence now being noticed?
Well, I think the first point to make is it should never have happened, because they know each other. They'd coached together before at the Crusaders.
It was surprised that it did.
Yeah, and they had 18 months from the time Razor was appointed until they got together as a coaching group. So if you weren't aligned, why not? And how did you not know? And it's a costly mistake, because my understanding is it cost 2 years of a 4-year contract to pay Leon out. So
wow,
that's not chump change. You're talking potentially 6 figures, 7 figures. And look, I think there's many dynamics at play there. Leon McDonald had been a head coach, so going back to an assistant would have been difficult. I think they're very different characters. Leon sees challenges where Razor sees optimism. Yeah, Leon's quite a structured attack coach, where maybe that didn't align. Maybe there was disagreements around selection, but unless you're in the room, you're not going to know exactly what went down there.
Yeah, it was so interesting.
It's not just that in the final 10 minutes, the All Blacks are getting scored upon. They're not scoring. It's almost like it's a double flip almost of the old 100-year narrative, which is the most dangerous All Black side is that All Black side at the very end, the championship minutes, you know, at the end of the first half, beginning of the second half, and the end of the end of the game, and that always seems to me mental more than anything else. I mean, it's the same players. Beauden Barrett's been around a long time. Jordy Barrett, Rico Ioane. The Blues had a fantastic season. Mark Talea, Caleb Clark are untackleable in space. Is it a territory thing? Is it that Damien doesn't know how to run the ship? You just wrote a piece today that Razor is considering on end of year tour making a change. So is that where you think it's coming from, the 9 and 10, or do you think it's a larger issue?
Yeah, I think it's both. It's game management, it's experience, it's composure. You know, the All Blacks have lost a lot of experience in recent years, and that's eroded their depth massively on the bench. And some of the tactical substitutions around the bench have been quite perplexing. Guys getting 5 and 10 minutes off the bench, and, you know, props playing 80 minutes in South Africa. But game management is a big part of it. I think the All Blacks had 38% territory in the second half against the Wallabies, so that you don't want to be playing at your end. And then the composure element, 5 yellow cards in the past 3 tests, and when those yellow cards are coming, you know, in the last 10, 15 minutes, Caleb Clark and Anton Lienert-Brown, the All Blacks down to 13 men, just absolutely scrambling for their lives. They should never have been in that hole, and then they compound it through, you know, errors and discipline. And so these are repeat themes, but I think it is a composure, leadership, experience, struggling to settle on combinations, game management, all of these things in the mix that they're struggling to get right.
Yeah. You did write about the pressure that's mounting on Damien McKenzie, and that's a really interesting situation, because we're not talking about a guy in his early 20s who's playing his first test. He's 29 years of age. He's played 50-plus tests, but it's just not quite clicking for him, is it?
Yeah, and I think while he's been around a long time, he doesn't have test experience at 10. I think prior to this year, he might have played, it was certainly single digits, maybe 4 or 5 starts at number 10. So there is a big difference between starting at fullback, coming off the bench, and having the responsibility of running a team. And I think there's perhaps a clash of styles, or Damien's struggling to find the balance between the run and gun, his natural instincts, and the need to play field position, get your team in the right areas, manage the game at these crucial moments, because he's such an excitement machine. He can, chip and chase and beat defenders, but that's not really what you need in the last quarter of a match. It's kicking goals, playing territory. So I think finding that balance is probably his biggest challenge.
Yeah, and he can do it. The All Blacks had 70% possession and territory in the first half, and led, as we said, 21-0, 28-7 or something like that. So it certainly can, and it is being done, but just not being sustained, Harry.
Yeah, well, he's kicking well at poles. There's that, and so I was thinking about it. If he has like 3 or 4 buckets, where he's trying to be the proper, field general guy instead of the instinct-driven Quicksilver man, he might be trying to do too many things different at once in his head. It's like a golfer who's trying to change his swing and gets a new putter and changes his caddies. I always thought Damien was this kind of irrepressible, free spirit soul, and then now he's being said, steer the ship into the harbor, and it's difficult. In Cape Town, there was a remarkable stat where final 10 minutes, All Blacks didn't even really get out of their 40. This time around, it went down. Liam, it went down to 10% of territory at the end. It was, and being there live, as you guys know, you were just looking one way. I mean, the All Blacks never came back, and so you're like, this will be decided in this territory. So, I think it's difficult to take a guy who's been cavalry charge man, and then say now you're going to defend the fortress, and sometimes take the most boring option.
And you would think if a guy is going to be able to fit into the vibe of a Scott Robertson team, it would be a free spirit like Damien McKenzie. Yeah,
that's right. But Richie Mo'unga has long been Razor's man, right? He's his he's his quarterback. And if you think about the way that the Crusaders played, it was moments of brilliance from Mo'unga, but largely they went to their set piece, they used their maul, they squeezed teams, so they took the points. And
did kick for territory.
And there's also a question, Razor at his team naming press conference in Sydney talked about going surfing with Joey Johns, and how Joey Johns said, when's Richie coming back? And do you really need to be letting those public utterances slip when you're trying to back and trust and support this new number 10? So some of the public messaging isn't great at times either.
Yeah, that is.
On that though, you look at, with the Irish exception to the side, you look at Argentina doing it with IP from across the world. A lot of their players are the best at some of the best clubs, and they're coming back and they're synthesizing new ideas. The Springboks famously, have people that look more fit now because they play in Japan, but they also have the different game styles of understanding Northern Hemisphere referees. How long can New Zealand stick with that in this sort of embrace of Australia plus, Drua and Pacifica?
Yeah, it's a very live question, and I think if you had a beer with Razor, he would tell you he wants to select Richie Mo'unga right now.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
From overseas and others, Shannon Frizzell, Lester Fying and Nuku perhaps. He'd love to be bringing Brodie Retallick or Sam Whitelock off the bench to have that experience there. But he's not getting that at this stage. But it is a very live question. I guess the counterpoint is Super Rugby, then you undermine your teams and maybe others go.
Yeah, true. What about has the perception of the Wallabies changed now this week on the back of that one result?
I think there was always respect and a bit of trepidation given Joe Schmidt's presence.
Yeah.
But on the back of their second worst defeat in history, expectations were the All Blacks would blow them out. Right? Like, I don't know how. I don't talk to anyone, any Kiwi guy, girl who didn't expect the All Blacks to win well in Sydney. And to be fair, I think that was an Australian expectation largely as well. I think there would be more recognition, respect for a lot of the players. Harry Wilson, Hunter Paisami, Tom Wright, these guys really stood up in a big way, particularly in that second half. Whether the Wallabies can back it up, unsure. But yeah, I think this test in Wellington, the return one, sold out. And last month when the All Blacks lost to the Pumas, it was only half full. So I think no matter what state the Wallabies are in, there's still a lure in New Zealand around the Bledisloe, around that trans-Tasman contest, around the rivalry, despite the All Blacks having the Bled for 22 years.
So let's get into Wellington then. You mentioned the sellout, and it's fantastic that it has been sold out for a good couple of weeks, because there was certainly a danger and even an expectation, I think, coming into Sydney that the crowd mightn't be great given the current state of the Wallabies. So is that and even I suppose the All Blacks' recent history in Wellington probably isn't great either. So where's a weeks ago Wellington sellout come from?
I think the Wallabies are a lure. The All Blacks still, commands a lot of interest, but maybe Wellingtonians got the message after people were pointing the finger at them when they were absent
maybe
for the Pumas. But it is a graveyard. The All Blacks haven't won here for 6 years, 5 tests. 2018 was their last victory here over France. They've had, I think, 2 draws and 3 losses in that time. Everyone expected them to beat the Pumas, and then the hoodoo goes on. So there's something about Sky Stadium that evokes a real anxiousness about the All Blacks playing here.
Harry, you've even had a win in Wellington, haven't you?
Yeah, I actually went over there for 2018, and that crazy match where Chesson Colby had the interception as a young Springbok. Damien McKenzie was the one who threw what was involved in the final play where he spilled the ball forward on the pullback, and the game was over. Also, Bowden Barrett sprayed the ball around and rattled the poles that night. I have always wondered about that. There's a swirling wind there. I do think that sometimes it just feels dark. It just feels like it doesn't feel like a place where they're ready for you to have a major match. I don't know, but I think the Wallabies are dangerous. You never want to limp into the finish and have your opponent more excited to keep playing. The All Blacks were clinging to the clock at the end, and you felt like if they kept playing for 10 more minutes, it would have been a Wallaby win. So I would think they're itching to play. Brett, I think your guys would be itching to play this week. I wrote in my article about to come out that Harry Wilson became the Wallaby captain this week. There's been auditions. There's been this and that. I felt like the way they sat at the table and regarded each other as sort of like a partnership. Didn't you feel like there was a different feeling about Harry Wilson, Captain Harry Wilson, that he's not as squeaky as Stephen Moore, he's not as abrasive as Senator Pocock, he's not as snarky as Michael Hooper at times. It just looks like a solid, good egg, and just what Schmidt needs.
He wouldn't have been widely considered as a potential Wallabies captain, but 3 tests in already, it's going to be an awfully big decision to take it away from him, because he's just doing the job really well. Though I noticed, and I'm not sure if you were still in it, Liam, Joe Schmidt had a crack at him about not being able to win a toss yet. He said something about, all we do is get to choose which end we run, although we're not even getting to do that because Harry hasn't won a toss yet. So he's just not winning the coin toss. But he's been great. His relationship and his management, so to speak, of Carl Dixon on the weekend was really good. He asked all the right questions, and there was a bit of a back and forward there toward the end. But as soon as he asked, could you check something, and Carl Dixon said, we've checked it, it's cleared, he went, okay, all right, no problems. And he backed off, Liam. And I don't know, how are you guys? I mean, I know you guys have long, and I know Scott Robertson has even long rated Harry Wilson as a player, but he's becoming a very, very good leader on the field.
Yeah, I think he could be a bit of a cult figure in time, to be honest. And there was a real perplexing nature about why he wasn't included under previous Wallaby regimes. He almost plays like a New Zealand loose forward. to a degree. You know, he offloads. Yep. He likes to range in the wide channels. He's got a bit of flair about him. Not the biggest bloke necessarily going around, but punches above his weight. So yeah, he's always played well for the Reds against New Zealand opposition. So I think, like you say, unlikely potentially Wallabies captain based on previous coaches, but doing a fine job in recent times, and yeah, it'd be bloody hard to take it off him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the other part of it, Harry, is that all of a sudden Rob Valentini's the guy that's getting replaced. And Rob Valentini, through Super Rugby, I think there was only 2, maybe 3 games where he didn't play 80 minutes. But this is now 3 weeks on the trot now that he's coming off around about the hour mark, plus or minus. So there's a shift as well.
It makes sense to me, though. Harry has a good way about him. I do like, and I think, I'm not comparing him to the accomplished full career of Kieran Reid, but he plays a little bit like Kieran Reid saw the game in that he's comfortable at any, whether he gets the ball here, there, or at the wide spots in the trams, doesn't really matter. He's going to be okay. And I think that's what Liam was making that point. The other thing I would like is he was like Alan Wynne-Jones or Richie McCaw in that he would go stand by the ref. I just got to stand by him, like to kind of get in the way and not be annoying about what he said. Just kind of approach and make sure that we look at something, but it was likable. And I think that's what Australia's been missing lately is, I forget who it was. It would just keep saying the most annoying question over and over, or say something kind of sarcastic, like, oh, so it's good for both teams then, like that kind of thing. Like, stop it.
Yeah. But you're right. Both those first half tries of New Zealand that were disallowed, Harry was standing like halfway between David McKenzie and the post, and he was obviously having some sort of conversation saying, you sure you haven't checked that? So, and look, the proof's in the pudding. 16 hit-ups, 22 tackles, didn't miss one on the weekend. So his work rate's been phenomenal. What sort of reaction are you expecting, Liam, from both teams, I suppose, coming into Bledisloe 2 this weekend?
Yeah, I expect the All Blacks to be better, but we have been expecting that for most of this year. You've been waiting for them to click, to finish those chances, to amend these issues. But there are a lot of motivating factors. This is their last home test of the year. It's going to be Sam Cane and TJ Perenara, provided they play, which we expect them to, last home test. Will they go north? Will they go on the Northern Tour, do you think? Not sure. They're both contracted to the end of the year before they go to Japan and call it a day. But when we talk about evolving this team, there's guys like Peter Lakai, 21-year-old Hurricanes flanker, who needs to come into the mix. Cam Roigard is back with the All Blacks this week. Hasn't played all year. He's a future at 9. He'll make his comeback with in provincial rugby next week. So he has to go north. So there's big decisions to make around the complexion of that Northern Tour squad.
Two kind of related questions, personnel-wise. Had Cam Roigard been healthy all year, was he the starting All Black 9? And secondarily, on the bench, why not a guy like Sean Stevenson to ignite instead of ALB, which is kind of, to me, a strange ignition switch?
Yeah, but Cam Roigard was the bolted-on future for the All Blacks at 9. Exceptional running game, quite a strong physical presence. He's actually quite a big guy.
Quite tall, isn't he?
Yeah, good left foot. So I think the future for the All Blacks at 9 is actually really bright. Between him, Cortez Ratima was brilliant against the Wallabies, and Noah Hotham, another young prospect. We haven't really seen. He's had one debut off the bench, so that's one area I think you'll see the All Blacks develop in a big way. And there's some strange selections on the bench. And also this week, the All Blacks have called in Shea Fihaki, Canterbury and Crusaders wing fullback, as injury cover for Ruben Love and Geordie Barrett, who Geordie will be out for 4 to 6 weeks. But most people are sitting back like, really? Shea Fihaki, when you've got Sean Stevenson playing the house down. Amoni Narawa is another one who I would like to see in the squad, can play fullback, wing. He's currently playing centre for Bay of Plenty in provincial rugby. And when you keep selecting guys like Shea Fihaki, you give off this perception of a Canterbury bias that's undeniably there when it comes to Razor and the wider coaching team. Scott Hansen's Crusaders, Jason Ryan's Crusaders, Tony Allison's Crusaders. So look, Shea Fihaki's a talent, but most people would be sitting back being like, really?
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? It's going to be a fascinating game this weekend. I asked Sumo Stevenson the same question last week, and it was an emphatic no. So I'm wondering whether it's changed this week. Is New Zealand prepared to think about the Wallabies winning in Wellington?
I'm going to stick with no, but as well as Wellington.
It's a considered no.
Look, the All Blacks have consistently shat the bed in Wellington, and if the door is ever ajar anywhere for the Wallabies, it's here. I think there's a bit of rain about closer to the weekend. It'll be a very different atmosphere, climate, and the Wallabies actually played very well in the wet in Perth against the Springboks. So look, anything's possible. I think the All Blacks will be hot favourites again. The expectations from the sellout crowd will be that they win and improve. But yeah, this Wellington hoodoo, it's a real thing.
Yeah, no doubt. You mentioned Jordy Barrett there before. He's definitely out for a period of time.
He's having scans today, so we're not 100% sure, but he looked very sore in a knee brace, medial ligament, so probably 4 to 6 weeks. So there'll be you expect ALB to start in the midfields. And David Havili or Harry Plummer to be on the bench, but he's a big loss. You can't really replace what Geordie brings.
No, and look,
I was really hoping
risk this week.
I was really hoping for a Harry versus Harry one-on-one big moment a week ago. Maybe we'll have a better chance this time. Liam, I'm interested in how you watch a match. This is my first time to be in a press box, and I found it to be almost a monastic experience. Like monks were, scripting calligraphy, the Book of Kells in a Trinity College somewhere. It was so quiet and removed from all the hurly-burly. And also people are talking to each other about, fact here, fact there, and so forth. When you watch a game, do you kind of prefer to be out there in the crowd a little bit, or do you like to be inside that quiet sanctum?
No, I love press boxes like Twickenham, South African stadiums where you're really out in the mixer, or you can at least open the windows and feel the atmosphere. I think that very much improves your copy or sense of occasion. That you ride the emotion and everything that comes with it. So I much prefer to be out in the mixer, but you don't always get that choice. But it is interesting how different nationalities. In a press box, I've very much come from the school of no cheering in the press box and the like. But if you get the Latins, the Argentinians and the like, they're very, they're into it. They're up in arms and gesturing and all the rest of it. So each to their own. It's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
We were in the Rugby Australia kind of box, and it was very sweary. But I found that the swearing fell into
mostly by
genres.
me, to be fair.
So 3 genres of swearing. And the first phase was, it's over, it's done. What are we doing? I want to go home, get in a fetal position and cry. Second one was, wait, hello. And, it's so frustrating. We're almost there. And then the final one was full on, like, we're going to do this. We're going to stuff up their Bledisloe.
Yeah.
This is the greatest upset since Brighton Beach. It's very interesting. Who are you looking for this next week? If you had to name a couple of All Blacks that you're actually going to take a keen interest in, because I like to watch a game like that, like just fixate on someone. Who are you looking for big games from the All Blacks?
Wallace Titi is probably a guy that I've been blown away by in recent weeks. He can do it all: offload, carry, missed a couple of tackles, but what a challenge to be thrown in against the box starting debut at blindside, and he's predominantly been a number 8. So Ethan Blackhead is back fit, so there's a decision to make for the All Blacks at blindside, but it'd be a big call to drop Wallace. And Will Jordan, if he stays at fullback, he missed the whole Super Rugby season and has really struggled since coming back from shoulder surgery, but he really clicked into form last week, didn't he? And looked to be getting back near his best. So he brings a really different dynamic to fullback. The All Blacks in recent years have favoured that whole dual playmaker, another 10, but Jordan's a traditional fullback who loves to attack. So those two guys that are pretty exciting to watch.
Who are you worried about on the Australian side?
Well, Harry Wilson, I think. Hard to go past them. And a guy like Marika Koroibete probably hasn't, had his straps for the Wallabies, and
no, certainly has not.
Pretty due to find some form. It'd be an opportune time for him. I'd like to see a bit more of Tate McDermott. I'm a big fan of his running game, of his threat around the fringes. I think he poses a different dynamic. So like to see him get a bit of a chance for the Wallabies as well.
Yeah, no, fair.
The matchup between Tate and TJ is interesting because TJ looks like he's about struggling. In the warm-ups, he doesn't even do the sprint.
That's experience, I think, mate. That's just experience. Liam, it's been a great chat. As I say, it's been a really good week, as it turns out, to get you on, because there's been so much coming out of that Sydney game to talk about, and there will be for the rest of this week as well. I've got no doubt going into Wellington. So thanks for giving us some time on arrival back in New Zealand, and we watch with interest, don't we, to see how this week plays out.
Yeah, bring it on. Keep doing good stuff, lads. Enjoy the pod, and great to be here. And I'm sure, Bledisloe's have a way of throwing up these sort of contests. Melbourne a couple of years ago with the time wasting penalty. Doesn't seem to matter what the landscape is. There's always some controversy and drama. So hoping for more this weekend.
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely.
All right, good on you, mate. Thanks, mate. We'll talk soon.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers.
This is the 8-9 Combo Rugby Podcast with Brett McKay and Harry Jones. And, mate, fantastic timing. And just a great chat with Liam Napier as well.
Yeah, I usually find that Kiwis are a bit like Liam. They're sensible. I mean, our mate Jeff Pox notwithstanding, most New Zealanders that I've run into, they're intellectually honest. They make concessions to reality. And it's probably why they've been so good at rugby, because they usually draw the right lessons. I think we're at a very interesting point in New Zealand rugby history. It's very rare they're stuck in sort of the third place. I think clearly people think it's Ireland or South Africa or South Africa or Ireland, and then there's a drop-off. And unlike those two teams, the succession planning isn't that clear, because they're still throwing Beauden Barrett, TJ Perenara, these same old solutions. So I thought Liam was spot on about, as dangerous as it sounds, trust the new. Like look at Cameron Roigard a year ago. He was a revelation. And, that's just a name we didn't talk about 3 years ago. So I think there's got to be other people in New Zealand that can spark more and, be up for the fight. So, I'm looking forward to this. I actually, if I was a betting man, and I kind of am a little bit, I actually think this next match will be more of the same. I think the Wallabies will start quick, and then it's New Zealand that will end strong. I think these two teams don't have a way of dominating each other for 80 minutes.
It doesn't feel like it at the moment, and that's interesting, because I probably didn't feel that a week ago. Probably didn't feel like that 3 days ago.
It was those two tries by the Wallabies in the first half that really stuck in my brain, because without that, the whole narrative is different. And I felt like Fraser McWright did not give an F about all that stuff. He's like, give me the ball. I'll run away from people. I thought Tom Wright had the same kind of swagger as well. I thought there were guys on the field that just were itching to have a go. So I didn't feel like the first half was quite as dominant as people are making it out to be. I think they're ready to play. I think these selections are really interesting, because I've heard people here and about saying Mika Koroibete may not be picked anymore.
There was plenty of talk about him over the weekend. In the post-mortem, so to speak. The fallout is that, does he actually deserve to be a place now? And plenty of people, and I thought he was really good too when he came on. Dylan Peach looked really, really good. So why not start him? Why not see what he can do? So, there might be some interesting conversations there. The Wayne Smith presence in and around the All Blacks is interesting again, because I agree with Liam's point. He is absolutely going to say, let's look more at Wallace Atiti. Let's look more at Roygard and Hotham and Ratama, of course. TJ Perenara has been a great servant of New Zealand rugby, but is he definitely better than those three?
His leg doesn't bend anymore. I promise you. I was watching him in warm-ups, and he was like running straight-legged. Our friend and both of our colleagues, he's a colleague of both of us, John Ferguson, at dinner as we had $34 bread. He was talking about
it was good bread.
He was talking about the overall question of speed, and that there were moments in the match and other matches, and I agree with him on this, that it just looked like on top end, swivel hipped, chase back, agility type speed, the Wallabies could do with some more of that.
Yeah, agree. And like you mentioned, the Fraser McWright try, and again, I can't remember whether we said this on Saturday night or not, but that exploited a genuine seam between midfield and forwards, and to the point where when McWright took the pass, there was a black jersey next to him, and I thought he was just going to get run down, but I didn't realise that black jersey was Ethan de Groot. And McWright ran away from him. It was like, hang on, New Zealand don't open up like that. So I agree. I wonder about that. So look, it's going to be a fascinating return bout. It would have been interesting if it was in Australia rather than back in New Zealand. I wonder if the feeling about the result would be different. Anyway, that's ifs and maybes. A quick whip around the grounds, mate. There is now more rugby being played around the rugby world currently. And the Pacific Nations Cup wrapped up on Saturday night with Fiji running away big winners in the final over Japan, 41-17. It was a dominant second half, 10-all at half time. And then Fiji scored 4 tries to kick away 41-10 before Japan scored late in the game. So there's a bit of a scalp for Fiji on the way back.
Yeah. Did Eddie pick Carter Gordonatiki? Who was he picking for Japan? Anyone unusual? Because he has some very exotic selections.
Have to, well, he was all in on a uni student there through July, wasn't he? So we'll see how that plays out and what the fallout for that might be. It was round 1 of the ERC. And it was, the score lines were ridiculous. Leinster beat Edinburgh 33-31. Cardiff beat Zebra 22-17. Dragons beat Ospreys 23-21. Munster beat Connaught 35-33. Benetton Scarlets drew 20-all. Ulster beat Glasgow 20 points to 19. So losing bonus points everywhere in round 1.
Oh man, it was like the Lou in Surrey Hills. It was the age of scoring. That's just where we're going, man.
Yeah, you might be right. The first round of the Premiership as well, I think was notable for Bath having a big win over Northampton in the rematch of the final. A bit of discussion around Leicester winning in pretty good fashion over Exeter as well. Saracens beat Gloucester.
Did you see the vision of Michael Cheika on that win? You would have thought he won the World Cup. He is so
really? He was was right on it, was he?
We love Dan McKellar and we followed Leicester Tigers because of it. But I will say Cheika does look like what they probably need. And it's going to be interesting to see him. Yeah.
Yeah, really good. Round 3 of the top 14. Again, no huge surprises. Bordeaux had a big win over Racing. Toulon beat Stade in a fairly tight affair. La Rochelle had a big win, so we'll see how that plays out.
For Dylan Lades.
Oh, yeah, righto. And the Currie Cup final. Hell of a finish.
Yeah, we needed the Jordan Hendricks instead of Jaden Hendricks to be on the field in Santiago, Argentina, to make that kick, a 59-meter inside out power fade
in the
with about
83rd minute.
2 yards to spare only, and mobbed at the death. So finally, the fictitious Curry Cup is over this year, and I can re-engage. As you know, the Stormers set it out. If the Stormers are not involved, Western Province is not involved in the Curry Cup, then it's not really a Curry Cup.
They were involved. They just didn't go very well.
Yeah, it's fictional. I'm not sure. Yeah.
0-0 at halftime. It was an extraordinary final. It really was. We'll be back
very cold, by the way, and a very cold game. And Ringo was out there, dressed up in full military fatigues.
Yeah, right. There you go. We will be back with games of the week later in the week as the Rugby Championship concludes for 2024 this weekend, and then the Test match post-mortem is back on Saturday night after the Wellington Bledisloe as well. So make sure you are all subscribed and following as needed to not miss a minute. I actually don't have a major headline of the last 7 days, but I think Geordie Barrett being out of action normally would be big news, but the timing of it is probably lessens it, I think, because there's no need for him to play this weekend. He can rest up for 4 to 6 weeks now and be ready to go again for the Northern Tour. So I feel like that'll be fine.
Yeah. To me, the big headline is Argentina, the best rugby championship of their history.
It's the first time they've beaten all 3 countries in a single tournament. So that's big news for sure.
And they go into Nelspruit, and theoretically they could win the rugby championship by turning over the Springboks in their backyard. It'll be hard because they have to win with a bonus point, and they win by 3 tries to deny the bonus point. It's like there's a lot of math involved, but it's possible.
South Africa can't get a losing bonus point.
True.
So they can't give away lots of penalties and let Andre Pollard just kick 9 from 10 penalties.
Yeah, you can play that game where you just stay in touch forever and see if it works out.
Yeah.
Rossi got caught out a little bit on his experimentation, though. He had, he rested 7 players that are, all-time greats, definitely starters, and kind of tried to sneak it through. Everyone groaned. We all love Marty Lebock, but we groaned because it's such a narrative. And by the way, if I was thinking about my jeers, I would also add, instead of anything that had to do with Razor, the laser. Who's this laser guy in Santiago? Stop it.
Laser on the referee.
Lasering the ref.
Christoph Ridley copped it in the face, didn't he?
Find that guy and end the foolishness. And but I mean, overall, it's the joy to watch the support, that full stadium, the adulation, and it sets up a pretty cool closing weekend. You have the Bledisloe on the one hand, and then you've got the title title decider.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. It's a good one. That then is episode 33 of the 8-9 Combo. Behind us, check the show notes for the links to the 8-9 Combo on Twitter and YouTube, where you can find video versions of the pod every week, and leave us a rating or a review wherever you can. And whichever pod platform you are subscribed or following us on, jump into your settings and make sure that you have auto download switched on, and then everything's just there and ready for you. So do that. Harry and I remain on our socials in the usual places. You can see our travel photography from the weekend and from what Harry is still giving you right now. In fact, you'll find links on the socials and in the show notes as well for Harry's stuff on the Raw and my weekly Australian columns on RugbyPass as well. And don't forget to head to rugbypass.tv, where you can now watch both series of Chasing the Sun, the documentary series celebrating South Africa's back-to-back Rugby World Cup wins in Japan and France. We're so pleased that everyone can now see Chasing the Sun. Chasing the Sun 2. It is a brilliant series, so make sure you sign up for free and watch it wherever you are in the rugby world that's not South Africa. This is the 8-9 Combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realise you needed, coming from the podcast double act you already had. I'm Brett McKay. He's Harry Jones. And we'll be back in your ears in just a few days' time with another Rugby Championship edition of Games of the Week.
Come play with us.
Yeah.